Hi, everyone. I'm here today with Panu Miettinen. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Founder of Vacuum Insulation Systems. He was a recent graduate from the Urban Tech Helsinki program, actually, as one of the entrepreneurs there. And he's come up with a very innovative solution for urban farming. Panu, of course, why don't we just get started? First, I want to ask, why become an entrepreneur?
Hello, everybody, and thanks for having me here. So, I would say I was always, as a kid, I was really interested in strategy games and in devising long-term plans and so on. So, it was maybe kind of natural for me. And then during my university times, I actually started playing poker quite professionally, and I really got drawn into that world. And I was kind of an entrepreneur myself during those university years as I was living off poker. So I think that really led me to this path. And I actually met our other founder in this company in a poker trip. I met him in 2008 in Portugal, and then we kept touch after that. And then when in 2016 he asked me to join his project, it was really easy because we already were quite good friends.
Really cool. And so, who was it that came up with this technology that you're now introducing? Was it your colleague, or was it yourself, or did you kind of do it together?
It was my colleague Pasi Herranen, so he's an Aalto alumni, and after he finished, graduated from Aalto University in 2012, I believe, he started developing this kind of a new construction technology in his head, and he did it for a long time alone, just doing long mathematical models and going over his ideas. And he did this without the salary. And then in 2016, he was quite confident that he had the mathematical background of the construction tech solution gathered, and then he started contacting his friends. So he contacted me and another master of economics, Orvo Ihalainen, and kind of asked, like, I have this great technology and I want to commercialize it, so do you want to hop in?
Great. Can you, for those people who are maybe not so familiar with your technology, do you want to just explain it a bit so that people can understand?
Yes. So the VIS technology is developed at Aalto University by Pasi Herranen, and it's a combination of vacuum technology and wood construction. So what this achieves us is that we can build large-scale construction elements that are extremely sustainable, durable, and very moisture resistant. And we believe that this technology has a lot of promise in, like, the general construction in housing and in office buildings. But our beachhead market is actually vertical farming, because there the moisture resistant is very important, and also, of course, the durability and the ecology of the solution. So actually, our first pilots and customer cases are in the field of vertical farming. So we basically build vertical farms out of VIS tech.
Hmm. And you talk about on your website, I know, specifically carbon negative solutions. I mean, I think everyone, they think it's a miracle if we can even do carbon neutral. So I'm just curious about how you are trying to get to the carbon negative solution, because that's really a huge step forward, I think, for a lot of businesses, if they can, even get there.
Yeah, the main point is that we want to maximize the utilization of wood in our construction elements. And already most of the mass is wood. So this is why, wood, as you build buildings, it's a long-term carbon sink, and that way we can reach the carbon neutral or even carbon negative status. And then, of course, we need some other materials too, and we have been paying great attention in trying to find the best and most sustainable materials. And I think in the future we can go even further, because there are so many great projects that are developing all kind of new solutions for the construction industry.
Mhm. I go up to my boyfriend's mokki, or cabin, all the time, and it's made purely out of wood, and saunas are made out of wood. I can't help but feel that this a little bit heralds back to maybe ancient Finnish wisdom or technology by making everything out of wood. Um, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yes. Actually, I believe this is one of the reasons why we ended up using wood in this tech, is that our founder Pasi Herranen, he did his master thesis on the strength of plywood, and while he was doing that, he really came to realization that it would be the perfect material for this technology. So probably it came from the fact that we have been working for a long time with wood in Finland, and there's a lot of interest in it.
I also think it's really fascinating too. I think because when you think about like modern tech solutions, especially in urban farming, you're thinking of materials like steel or concrete or some really new hybrid combo. You're not thinking, oh yeah, wood. Wood's the
Yeah,
perfect
yeah,
solution to the problem.
yeah, yeah. That was basically one of like Pasi's key like motivators, that he wanted to utilize wood and get a solution that would be extremely moisture resistant and that would work in all environments and climates. And he wanted to make it happen. And I think that was like his key motivation, to be able to utilize more wood.
Mm. And how has it been like being an entrepreneur, especially during COVID times, like trying to introduce this new technology to people and convince them that this is the way to go?
Yeah, we are still in a very early phase. So when the COVID actually hit, we were still like employees of Aalto University, because we were developing our solution on a Business Finland funding there. So it was a research to business funding. But of course, we saw all around us that every startup had like all their orders were canceled. And when you have a runway of 6 months and then everything gets canceled, it gets really, really bad really quick. But maybe in the bigger picture, for example, for the field of vertical farming, the COVID also had some positive impact. So people started thinking more about the food security. And in some countries they ran out of lettuce or some herbs because they were importing from another country. And when the flight stopped, they ran out of food, and now they're thinking, hey, maybe we should have more of our own food production here locally.
Mm, mm, mm. Um, I think there are actually quite a few people looking at this technology now. How do you feel you're stacking up against potential competitors?
Yeah, I think the good thing for us is that a lot of the competition is actually focused on, the, let's say, automation, LED lights, climate control systems, AI, and so on. And not so many companies are focusing on the construction tech. So we actually see great potential in co-working with a lot of those current vertical farming companies, and we have done so. So I think it could be a really good synergy with them.
Yeah, cool. You did mention you had some case studies. How have those been going? Did you partner up, for example, with an automation solution?
Yeah, for example, our first pilot has been built in cooperation with the National Finnish Resource Institute, so Luke. So we built a 50 square meter vertical farm out of our tech, and it was as a research station. And even in that project, we cooperated with a Finnish company called Novarbo, who is
Mhm,
providing, for example, climate control and automation solutions. So they
mhm.
they did the climate control setup for us there.
Mm. I one criticism or that I've heard from maybe the general public is they feel like, vertical farming or indoor farming, it's unnatural because, you're growing in buildings without light, depending on the setup you have, without soil, and that sort of stuff. It's not the way nature kind of intended it. And of course, there's been a lot of talk about, natural farming, regenerative agriculture, going back to permaculture and trying to, do those sort of things. What are your thoughts on those situations
Well,
or
I,
those
I really
comments?
Well, I see a lot of people commenting on that, and I hear oftentimes when there's a vertical farming article posted somewhere that half of the questions are that can this taste good if it's not grown in the soil, and so I see that people are kind of worried about that. But personally, I feel that you can achieve the same level of quality and taste, and even better in the controlled environment, because you can control so much more stuff than you can control in an outdoor cultivation. So it gives you more possibilities to optimize your setup and achieve better results in the future. And of
Mm.
course, we at the same time we can get rid of some really bad problems, like not running the waste into the rivers and so on. So we kind of also make it better for the nature in that sense. And I actually think that I have seen some vertical farming companies brand the vertical farmed product as a beyond organic. So kind of this message that it's even cleaner and nicer than organic.
Yeah, I believe I remember I was talking to the CEO of Netlet about that. They said thanks the pro of vertical farming is you don't have to use as many pesticides because basically you're growing indoors and all of the bugs are outside. Does that ring also true for your construction
Yes.
technology as well?
Yes, it is extremely airtight, the envelope, so there is very little interference with the outdoor. So of course it's harder for the pathogens to get in. And when we live in Finland, we don't have that much problem with using the pesticides outside. But if we go to other countries, that might be like one of the top three worries of the consumers. So every year you need to use more pesticides, and it gets worse year by year, and the consumers are really looking for food that is being grown without that. So I think it is one of the top five selling points in my view towards the consumers.
Yeah. And of course, kicking off a startup like this, especially with so many resources you need, I mean, you're constructing these large facilities for indoor farming, definitely needs some support. I know that you recently graduated from the Urban Tech Helsinki incubator. I just want to ask, how was your experience with this?
Yeah, it's been great so far, and I don't know if graduated is the correct word, because it's actually quite a long program. It's we started it last I believe August, and it's a minimum of 1 year, but there's an option to be involved for 3 years. So it's actually I would say that is one of the really good parts, that it's a long program, and when you get to know the people, then you get all the time you get better advice because they know your case and they have been following you. So I think it's really beneficial that it's such a long program. and
Mm,
uh, and so far, yeah, my experience has been that it's been really good. We've had some really interesting like Friday talks with maybe some guests popping up, and making new connections, and we have already met a lot of companies that we can collaborate with. But I would say the best part so far has been the advisors. So they have really experienced advisors in the field of like financing and IPR negotiations and so on. And you can just call them and book a one-on-one meeting and get such good advice that I don't know how much you would have to pay to get it from some consultant. So it has been really helpful for us. We're going towards the seed rounding, and thinking about the valuation and all the term sheets. It's great to have like the real experienced people giving you advice on that.
mm. Yeah, actually, a lot of the startup and accelerator type programs or incubator programs I know of, it's usually quite a short period. It's usually 4 months, 6 months max. So I guess this is kind of something that is unique about the Urban Tech Helsinki accelerator, that it's like kind of like a minimum of 1 year, but you can continue for up to 3 years. And it sounds to me like you're continuing to use continuing to be a part of the program as we speak.
Yes, for sure. And of course, there's the great benefit that you get access to Maria O1 and Aalto Startup Center. So, these are probably the biggest startup hubs in Finland. And while you're in the program, you can just book a conference room there if you want to have a meeting, or,
Mm.
or a working station. So it's really great for a startup, because it's not necessary that you you have to have like, big office in the downtown. So you might really use those resources.
Mhm. I think a lot of startups go from kind of hop from program to program, startup program, or whether it's an incubator or accelerator. Do you see yourself hopping on to another program or of any case, or are you kind of just content with staying in Urban Tech Helsinki at the moment?
Yeah, I believe we will stay there for sure. But of course, we are also taking part in some other programs that might have a different focus, or like a different way of like providing the services. So I would say that we certainly see ourselves being part of this program for as long as for those 3 years. But of course, it's possible that we will attend also some additional incubators or accelerators.
Mm. Have you basically have you do you what kind of other resources do you think you'll use as part of like kind of like the Helsinki Espoo Vanta ecosystem? I think like, is there anything that, for example, the program has kind of directed to you to, oh, this is a great program, or maybe you should utilize this service, kind of thing, that's already outside of the program itself that
Yeah,
you're
of
thinking
course.
of using
Yeah, we
separately?
actually, yeah, we have already like Urban Tech Helsinki has put us in touch with some people from city of Helsinki, and that could be very helpful for us, because their big construction project, you kind of always need some support from the public sector and the local government. So for example, as we are planning some some farms into Helsinki region, it could be really beneficial to have that contact with the city of Helsinki.
Mm. Yeah. And are you and of course we've been talking a lot about Helsinki. Where do you see this startup going across Finland, globally? What's the long-term plan or the goal?
Yeah, I believe this whole vertical farming business is it's very global. So you see farms popping up around all around the world, and of course, even if you compare it to farming food outside, it's quite different to farm food, in the Nordic sector compared to the Sahara. But in the vertical farming business, you have the vertical farm, and within that vertical farm, the environment is quite same no matter where you are. So it's a kind of global business by definition, and all the innovations can scale up to the global level. And we are already negotiating pilots in also very warm countries because the good insulation properties are of course needed there as well to keep the heat out. So it's very possible that our second or first pilot might already be in a different continent.
Oh wow, that's I'm looking forward to seeing if you get their pilot. I hope you do. And of course, wood is a material that can be found everywhere, and of course, it's been used everywhere for construction. So I guess in a sense, you kind of maybe have an edge on maybe other competitors in the construction tech industry because it's a relevant, typically a readily available material.
Yeah, the big Finnish wood companies are pretty much delivering the plywood all around the world. So even if they don't have a local source, the availability is quite good in a global sense.
Yeah, well, I think it's nice to already have that infrastructure set up for you. You don't have to worry about delivering plywood. You know companies that are already doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um, are there any other? Do you think what else do you think you need in to help in terms of advisors, mentors, maybe public entities? What would you think you need going forward to help you continue to grow the business?
Of course, I think one thing that maybe is somewhat underrepresented in many of the incubators is how to find new team members and some people who are really interested in working in startups and who might have experience there. So as this Corona times passes, I really hope that we can have more of these kind of big live events where there are the startups presenting their ideas, and on the other hand, there are people who are interested in working with the startups. And actually, one of our team members who has been now part of our team for nearly 2 years, we found him in a business mean Finland, like this kind of a demo day thing where
Mhm.
startups were presenting. So I'm really looking forward to more of that because it's hard job recruiting people in the early phase, and if you get to meet people beforehand and you build a trust and you build the connections, it will help you a lot in the long run.
What kind of people are you looking for?
That's a good question. Of course, it's always a question that do we want to buy this, outsource this as a service, or do we want someone to come in the house and do it? For example, at the moment we don't have much expertise in building our websites and social media presence and stuff like that, and it's very important these days, of course. So that is especially something that I'm kind of seeing that it might be someone we need to recruit in the future.
Mhm. So it's not even necessarily recruiting permanent members to your team. I guess it's also a question of is it easier for us to outsource this to a third party provider like a marketing provider or whatever type of typical business operation as well. And it would be great to have some support, whether it be from Urban Tech Helsinki or some other public entity or whatever in this process for startups, because you can't, it's hard to set up all these relationships and find the right vendors or suppliers.
Yeah, and maybe one additional thing is, of course, is making pilots happen because pilots are quite expensive and take a lot of resources and need a lot of cooperation. So I really feel that that's something that the collaboration with the city of Helsinki could help most of the teams.
That's great insight. Thank you for letting us know what telling us about some of the needs going forward. Of course, and of course, we've been talking around the subject of urban farming quite a bit. But how do you feel about the future of urban farming? Where do you see it going?
Yeah, it's well, of course, it's kind of if you look at all the newspapers and the social media accounts and so on, there's a lot of hype around urban farming, and there has been for a couple of years now, and I've kind of now seen that some of the parties are feeling that it's been overhyped to some extent. But I personally believe that urban farming will have a clear future. It will have a bright future. And of course, some people have been, giving up statements that, we will get rid of all the greenhouses and all the outdoor farming, and we will, cultivate all the food in the world in vertical farms. I don't believe it's going towards that, but I feel that vertical farm will have a really nice niche in the market. It will produce some of the high-end food for urban consumers on a more efficient scale than the current solutions. And I believe that it will grow quite a lot in the coming decades, because the mega trends are there. The consumers want something fresh, clean, sustainable, and hyper local. And at the same time, it's getting harder to grow food outdoors, because climate change will put a lot of key areas into risk, that it's just getting too hot out. So the mega drivers are there, and at the same time now there has been a lot of money pouring into the tech companies. So I believe also we will see better and better tech solutions in the coming years, so we can solve some of the current problems that are sometimes quite a high electricity consumption and very high investment cost, because this is still a very new industry. So I believe the future is bright, but we need a lot more collaboration and tech development to make this like a really scalable and big thing.
I remember when I think you also brought up kind of an interesting point there. Farmers being worried that you're going to get rid of all the outdoor farming and that you're going to get rid of all the greenhouses. Do you care to elaborate on that? Maybe for some people who maybe don't understand this conflict or this relationship dynamic, because I think maybe in some people's mind, people are thinking, aren't greenhouses kind of like indoor farming or urban farming?
Yeah, like for example, if we say that one wants to grow wheat somewhere, like a very calorie rich plant, at the moment it would be unbelievably expensive to grow that in a vertical farm, because you're not utilizing sunlight. So the the price of wheat should be probably like 200 times more than it is today, in order for the vertical farms to start growing wheat. But even that might happen in 50 years if we run out of water and arable land. It might be possible that in 50 years time, some of the even the calories will be grown in vertical farms in some especially hot areas. But for a long time, at the moment, the market is that most of the vertical farms are producing just lettuce and herbs, because they are quick to grow, and they don't require that much energy, because there is very low calorie content. And so I believe it's at the moment it's the niche market. It's serving it very well. Urban people, a couple of like high value plants, but I believe it will grow in the future. There will be berry farms. There are already solutions to grow strawberries in vertical farms, but in the end, stuff like wheat and, let's say, oranges, I don't believe they will be cultivated in vertical farms in any time soon.
So long story short, rest assured, you're not taking away any market from them, and probably there's plenty of crops or vegetables that they can grow that can't be grown in a greenhouse. So it's kind of just making way for those different types of food to now become available, like freeing up that land space.
It's creating a new market. So I believe it could be a win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah, and what about the greenhouses, like the fear from the greenhouses that the vertical farming is going to take over?
It's a bit same answer as before, that greenhouses are cultivating plants like tomatoes on a large
Yeah.
scale, and so that is not, at least at the moment, it's not something that is being grown in vertical farms, unless
Mm-hmm.
we're talking some small pilots. So still, I see there's a little bit differentiation between vertical farms and greenhouses, but I believe that they will maybe eat partly, in the lettuce production. The vertical farms will take a little bit of business from greenhouses, but I still believe it's such a massive market that there will be room for both options.
What role do you think, for example, intelligent design will play, like in terms of maybe location of these of your specific vertical farms? Because I've also heard of solutions they've come up with where, for example, they establish an indoor vertical farm near a plant that's giving off tons of excess heat, and then they they capture that heat, and that reduces the energy consumption. So I'm just curious about what kind of role you think those kind of solutions will play with your technology as well.
Yeah, I actually believe that the next leap of efficiency will come from integrating vertical farms to existing city structures and smart cities, because there's a lot of synergies between vertical farms and, let's say, the production of renewable energy. Because with the renewable energy, it's hard at the moment to store it in the batteries. So it would be beneficial for the whole energy system to have vertical farms linked to those renewable production sites, because then whenever you have an excess of energy, the vertical farms can just utilize it quite cheaply. And also, actually, vertical farms are quite big heat providers, because you have so many layers of LED lights. So actually, it's a little bit like those Google server rooms, that they are producing heat all the time. So that this is one aspect that we have been kind of visioning, that we could actually use the vertical farms to provide heat for the nearby city, even during winter times. So that would actually make the whole system a lot more efficient.
So kind of reducing the need to just have a power plant produce the heat, but like, oh, hey, let's grow vegetables while producing heat at the same time and sending it. Okay. Do you have a pilot for this? This as well. I think this is a very interesting concept.
Yeah, we actually have a pilot planned for that also, that it would involve Otaniemi and the university campus area. So nothing is settled yet, but it's very possible that we might be able to pilot that in the near future.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds really exciting. I hope you get to do it, and I will looking forward to seeing what the results bring. If we can, create kind of like this carbon negative urban farming solution that we're all aspiring to. Any other comments you'd like to make about the future of farming before we move forward?
No, I think we covered it pretty well here. Just maybe to say that we didn't touch the artificial intelligence that much in this speech, but I also believe that will bring a lot of improved efficiency to the whole business, because it's a closed solution. You can monitor everything. You can collect every bit of data, and then the machine learning algorithms are very good at optimizing these kind of setups. So I believe in the next 5 years, we have probably been able to cut down the use of electricity and all the other resources. So I think that will be a big help for the whole industry.
It's really bringing kind of old technology and or ancient technology together with modern technology, because you're going to have this construction, which is basically primarily of wood, which uses lots of traditional, probably in a sense, traditional Finnish knowledge, I guess, about wood. And as well as bringing in the robotics and the AI and the machine learning to make the whole thing efficient, as well as, of course, the kind of the smart design or smart city design, where you're trying to, hey, we have all this excess heat energy, let's use it to heat some homes, or oh, hey, let's use some of the excess power from some other places too, or something to keep the place warm if we've got vegetables who like it much warmer.
Yeah, I believe this is why it's really easy to make new connections and find new collaborators, because it's such a multidisciplinary field that almost everybody has some connection to the world, and they can bring something new to the table. So this has been a really nice thing about this project.
Very, very exciting. Before we wrap up the conversation, any final words of wisdom for aspiring agri-tech or food tech entrepreneurs who want to enter this field as well?
Maybe more general advice for all entrepreneurs or people who aspire to be entrepreneurs, that you should really accept that you are entering a world that is full of randomness and full of variance and full of turbulence, and you need to accept it and embrace it. Otherwise, it will be really hard to sleep your nights.
I think that's just wisdom for everybody. Everyone's going through a turbulent time, but still, nevertheless, it's very true for entrepreneurs. Thank you so much, Panu, for taking the time to chat with me today. Once again, I'm just going to put up your website once again for those people who want to get in touch with Panu. I want to connect with him. He's got his website here below, viswood.liquidbox.com. I think it's a website under construction.
Yeah, it's still a work in progress. Yeah.
That is the startup way. Everything is just a work in progress. But don't be afraid and don't be shy to get out and reach out to Panu and his team. And apparently they're looking for good members as well. So,
Thanks for having me. It was really nice to talk about this.
Yes, always a pleasure. And so thank you so much to our audience, and look forward to seeing you again for the next startup story. Today's live stream was powered by our partner, Restream. Click on or visit our affiliate partner link, restream.grsm.io/foodtechies, to receive a $19 credit towards your first subscription. When you subscribe to Restream using our partner link, we may receive a referral fee, which goes towards helping us continue to produce content like this for you. Thanks again for watching.